Hello everyone, Space Oyster here, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age. In the last episode, we made our way to Mount Bur-Omises, and then followed that up with a few side quests. Today, we made it back here to Mount Bur-Omises. I looked it up, and I don't think I'm quite ready to handle the next couple hunts, so I figured I'd just continue on from here. Anyway, off screen, I did a little bit of grinding and got some new equipment. Vaughn has a new dagger, the Gladius. Balthier got a new sword, Icebrand. Fran has a sexy new sledgehammer. Bosch has the Murasame. Ashe picked up the Glacial Staff, and Pinello got Jack. There were also a few new spells, namely Kiraga here, which restores a large amount of HP to one ally, so we're back to single target heals instead of Kira. We also got Blizzara, which is the ice equivalent of Thundara and Fyra. And we also got Darkra. Also, while I was grinding, I did find a unique piece of, actually I should show it in the inventory, a semi-unique ammunition, the poison bombs. I found those in the Osmone Plains near the entrance to the Zertian Caverns. I should have pointed out where that's at, but I'll make a mental note of it. Anyway, let's continue on with the story now that we are actually here at Mount Bur-Omises. Nice, pretty, calming music. Yeah, this is one of my favorite locations in the game, not just because of that beautiful entrance we got to see last time, with the cutscene showing that whole valley with the clouds in it. It's a really neat place. So neat, it got 2 introductory cutscenes. Well, the biggest thing to keep in mind about Bur-Omises, or I guess the biggest feature, are these guys here, these alkalites. I believe their species is called the Pneumo. Fran mentioned them when she was talking about the legend of the Espers, that their stuff was passed down as a legend of the Pneumo. That would most likely be those guys. The person you can talk to for extra information about hunts, he is one of those, so this isn't the first time we've seen these guys, but they are most prominently here. They also look very, very weird, and I don't really like them that much. Anyway, in this big room here, we need to talk to the guy in the back.
Is he sleeping?
No, my child.
Whoa.
I do not sleep. I dream. For reality and illusion are a duality. 2 parts of a whole. Only the mirror of dreams reflects what is true.
Anastasis, your grace. I am
Lay
Ashelia.
down your words. Ashelia, daughter of Ramanas, I have dreamt your dream. Who better to carry on the Dalmascan line than she who bears the Dawn Shard? Your dream of a kingdom restored is known to me.
Grand Kiltius, then give us your blessing.
grant the Lady Ashe her
I do
accession
not
to the...
suppose this is something you might reconsider. My little emperor-in-waiting. You called and I have come.
This is the man I wanted you to meet. Believe it or not, he is a member of the noble house Margrace, rulers of the Rosarian Empire.
I am but one of very, very many. Try as I might, I could not stop this war alone. Thus, I came seeking Larsa's assistance. Alcide Margrace, at your service. To think I stand before the Lady Ashe, it is truly an honor. I see it is true after all. Stunning is Dalmasca's desert bloom.
In Arcadia, Larsa. In Rosaria, Alcide. They dream not of war. Should empire join with empire, the way will open for a new Evilis in our time.
Grand Kiltias, you speak much of dreams, but in the real world, war is upon us.
Grand Kiltias, I was told my coming here would prevent this war. I was to assume my father's throne and announce the restoration of Dalmasca, treat with the Empire for peace, and persuade the Resistance to stay their hand. I have not come all this way to be asked to reconsider.
A word from you and the Resistance would stop cold, and Rosaria's pretext for joining the war scattered off to the four winds. This was what we had hoped. Alas, circumstances change. A full 2 years have passed since your reported death. Were it to become known you are still alive, I fear it could only worsen our current situation.
Because I am powerless to help.
Nay, in fact it has little to do with you.
Then what? If Lady Ashe were to extend her hand in friendship, perhaps I could then persuade the Emperor. His Excellency will solve things peacefully.
The Emperor Gramis is no more. His life was taken.
Father.
What possible cause could we have to lay hand on our Emperor?
A deception and an outrage. The Senate will not stand for this.
A viper amongst our senators?
With Chairman Gregoroth as its head. With what dignity remained him, he confessed to the poisoning and passed his own
A
sentence.
viper with many tails. Much of the Senate is culpable.
We had no choice but to strip the Senate of authority and assign powers of autocracy to myself until such time as order...
Spare me your lies! I see the serpent coiled here before me!
Grace, you speak too freely.
Zargabath! Do not tell me you join in his mama's farce!
With Rosaria poised to invade at any moment, our leader must have a free hand.
The once great House Solidor is now reduced to myself and my dear brother Larsa.
Surely you would not go so far. Vain Solidor! As Judge Magister and upholder of the law, I hereby place you under arrest.
You misunderstand. Vane did not make himself autocrat. It was the very Ministry of Law which you serve. Do you see it now, Drace? When you bared your sword at His Excellency, you bared your sword at the law.
You wear the mama's motley well, Bergen. Such strength. Inhuman.
Zargabath, take the Alexander. You will accompany Bergen and bring Larsa back to me.
Sire.
Your Excellency, Lord Larsa was placed under my charge.
Oh? Perhaps you mistook your orders then. I can see no other explanation for why you were reporting and conjecturing on my doings to my late father.
Your Excellency.
A hound begging for scraps at the Emperor's table. Would you serve another master, hound? You may fulfill your duty as Judge Magister before us all. She has been tried and found guilty.
Your Excellency, I beg you reconsider.
Do it. I care not. Live, Gabrantha. Protect the young lord. Protect Lartha.
Forgive me.
Pray be quick.
And so House Solidor lives on.
Let us suppose you approach the Empire with a peaceful resolution. The late Emperor Gramis would have lent you his ear, that much is certain, but we are dealing with vain Solidor. Should the princess return, he would claim her an impostor, or to tempt the resistance into battle. Vayne wants this war, that much is certain. As our ill luck would have it, the man is a military genius.
The dreams have told me thus. To reveal yourself would imperil us all. I see war, and Vayne's name writ bold on history's page.
Arcadia's banners fly high. They are making ready for the coming war. According to our latest reports, the Western Armada prepares for war, under Vayne's command, no less. The newly formed 12th Fleet has already been deployed. Oh yes, the Imperial First Fleet stands ready. They'll be underway as soon as the Odin's refit is complete. And there is more. The 2nd Caravan Expeditionary Force is being called in to replace the missing 8th, so there will be no gaps. The largest force ever seen!
And then, the Nethicite is the coup de grace. Grand Kiltius, your grace. I spoke to you of my succession. Let us put that aside. Should I become Queen of Dalmasca now, powerless as I am, I can protect nothing. With a greater power at my disposal, perhaps then.
It is the Nethicite of which you dream?
I require something far greater.
To wield power against power. Truly, the words of a Hume child.
I am descended from the Dynast King himself.
Indeed. Then you have but one choice. Seek you the other power Wraithwall left.
Does such a thing exist?
Journey across the Paramana Rift to the still shrine of Miriam. There rests the gift he entrusted to the Grand Kiltius of his time. Seek it out. The Sword of Kings can cut through Nethicite. Why he would entrust the power to destroy Nethicite, the instrument of his greatness, to another and not to his own progeny, I cannot say. Awaken Ashelia Benagan, and take up your sword, or your dream will remain but a dream. My dream too fades into day.
All right, so much to digest there. First and foremost is the disappointment that they killed off Drace so quickly. She was the only female member of the judges, and many people feel like she didn't get enough time to shine, despite the fact that she owned both of the scenes she was in. Although, considering she only had the two, that's probably another point of contention. You know what? Moving on is the implications of the late Emperor Gramis? However you pronounce his name's death. In the last scene he had talking to Vane, it subtly or not so subtly implied that he's asking Vane to do the deed himself and frame the senators, or he passed away naturally and Vane decided to imply that it was poison and frame the senators. Either way, it is semi-likely that Vane is taking advantage of the whole situation here. Let's see, the other things to consider or bring up is would be that Al-Cid, the Rosarian man we were talking to. Many people consider him this game's Cid. Every single Final Fantasy game has a character named Cid, who is in some way important to the plot. And Al-Cid is one of two characters who could be this game's real Cid. Or, well, legacy, I should say. The other one we only met briefly before now, Dr. Cid from the Dracula Laboratory. Some people don't consider him this game's Cid, however, simply because he is, well, villainous. He'd be a villainous example of Cid, when most of the time Cid is a good character who assists the party. Personally, I don't really care. I prefer Dr. Cid to Al-Cid, since Al-Cid has a very brief appearance, and while he is somewhat important to the plot, his importance is definitely outclassed by Al-Cid. Or, not Al-Cid, Dr. Cid. Anyway, let's go ahead and explore a little bit to see everything that the Paramanal Rift has to offer before we make it to our next location, the Still Shrine of Miriam. Probably not a good idea to be having Ashe throwing Blizzard around, but at the same time, she's doing just fine with it anyway. And yeah, we did lose Larsa as a guest, so that is a bit of a hefty toll, considering how useful he was. Yeah, I'm gonna go north first and explore this small part of the area that we've already been to, and then I'll come back down here. Also, at the time of recording, I recently saw Chugga Conroy's video on how he makes his Let's Plays, and it was a lot of help. I really gotta leave a comment and a like on that to thank him for it. Ideally, I'd be taking his advice to heart and stopping this episode soon, or this part. My intention is to get to the Still Shrine of Miriam first, and then put a stop to it there. I've been trying to keep it at about 30 minutes, but realizing now that's not a very realistic expectation. and that I should just try and keep everything important and relevant. And then as for other projects, well, his same video, he mentioned that he actually works on projects a bit in advance, and he does a practice playthrough. I didn't actually do a recent practice playthrough of Final Fantasy XII before starting this Let's Play. I did play through it a lot near release, but for the most part, I didn't do a practice playthrough with this exact party setup. So, yeah, this Let's Play has suffered a bit from my lack of preparation. So I was thinking of getting in some practice for the one I plan to do after Final Fantasy XII. Although a bit early to be thinking about that, since I don't think we're quite ready to call this one finished. I think we're at roughly the halfway-ish point. It's tough to tell. This Final Fantasy XII does have a bit of a padding problem. So it's tough to tell exactly where the halfway point is. Narratively speaking, I think we're roughly there, since well, no, usually there's a darkest hour at about the halfway-ish point, and I don't think we've had that darkest hour yet. Although Ashe learning that she can't really seek peace the way Larsa had intended could be seen as that darkest hour. Or alternatively, the darkest hour was the fight against Vossler. The map for this area is a little confusing, but I know how I'm gonna get through it. I know exactly how I'm gonna do this. Anyway, as for hazards to keep in mind for traveling the Paramana Rift, I probably should have brought them up sooner, but that's okay. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that there can be blizzards in the area, so when there's a heavy snowstorm, characters with bows and crossbows are going to have their accuracy reduced, same as if it was raining heavily in Giza Plains or on the Osmond Plains. And then I think elements are the weather is also supposed to have an effect on elemental damage. I'm not too familiar with it. I've never really noticed or paid attention, but there could be something. Oh crap! Balthier is not attacking, so that means this enemy is not vulnerable to ice. I'm gonna have him put on that bow and then start shooting. There. And then we're back to... Although, actually, now that I think about it, I might have had a different option that didn't require me to open the menu and swap weapons. Let's actually check that out. Technics. Nah, the only option I really would have had would have been Traveler. Oh, one other small thing I forgot that I should have probably shown you was Bosch. I think I made a small mistake. I got his 50 cost quickening right down here to unlock 150 on HP 150 on White Mage. However, I believe that with the White Mage and Bushi combo, I should have instead focused on getting 75 for these two here, 125 for this one here, and 100 for these two here. So I may have screwed Bosch over just a little bit, but he does have a few battle lore augments on White Mage that I haven't unlocked yet. So before I get his last 2 upgrades, I'm going to see if any of them will unlock those, give me access to those HP boosts on Bushi before I go any farther. Right, never mind, I'm not finding battle lore augments, so I think I'm oh, I can get 100, see if that one is on one of his other license boards. Hopefully. Or, well, behind one of his other quickening things. But that's just a pitfall to avoid with your own characters. Make sure you carefully consider which quickenings to get. Like, there's not much difference between getting a 50 cost quickening as opposed to the 125 cost quickening. The only difference is what they unlock, and for certain jobs, that's very important. Whereas for some jobs, it doesn't matter in the slightest. The biggest one to consider, and I brought it up slightly, was the Shikari. With the Shikari, the quickenings unlock one of the 4 upgrades to Ninja Swords. 50 unlocks Ninja Swords 1, 75 is Ninja Swords 2, 100 is Ninja Swords 3, and 125 is Ninja Swords 4. You definitely want to get Ninja Swords 1 and Ninja Swords 4. Ninja Swords 1 has all the starting Ninja Swords, so they're going to be the first ones made available to you. And Ninja Swords 4 is just the Yagyu Darkblade. Ninja Swords 2 and 3 unlock 2 specific swords, and I honestly don't know which one is better to get. Ideally, you'd want to look at what elements they have, and then... crap. You know what? Let's go ahead and have Balthier do... Traveler. Why not? It's just one enemy, so I guess the one hit is going to be fine. And this looks bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop 2 party members. I dropped the wrong 2. I'm going to drop 2 party members and try to safely navigate around those, so that way I don't have to worry about setting off the traps. The AI would just stumble right into those, but with just one person, you don't have to worry about it. Although once we get the spell Float, then we don't even have to worry about it, period. I forget what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Yeah, with the Shikari, if you have a job that's using the Shikari, consider dropping, either the 75 or 100 cost quickening, because you won't need both Ninja Swords 3 and Ninja Swords 4. Another thing to consider would be which version of the Ninja Swords are easier to get. And then simply go for the one that's easier to get. Alright. A Baratine Croc. Balthier is still in. I've been thinking about trying to get my party setup switched up a bit. I definitely want to make sure Penelo is on the same team as either Balthier or Ashe, since she won't be getting access to Asuna. I want to make sure that she's partied up with Ashe or Balthier, because both of them will get it. At the same time, as I've already mentioned many times before, I don't have to strictly stick to my party setups as I've been swapping them around as I get into the later parts of the game. Let's go ahead and run around as Bosch. And we might be in trouble here, because everyone is now equipped with an elemental weapon. Bosch has a water sword, Balthier has an ice sword, and Vaughn has a wind dagger. good times. Yeah, we'll make it work. Vaughn also actually does have another equipment option. He has a Thunder Element Spear, and if you have an Ulan, it might be a good idea to have them run around with that spear equipped. Not a requirement, though. Okay, let's drop Balthier and Bosch for a second to see if I can navigate around the trap. I did, and that was the sword that Bosch is currently equipped with, so I kind of wasted money buying this one. Starting to think maybe while I'm grinding I should be exploring these areas more. But at the same time, I also like having access to the strong equipment as I'm going through the area, as opposed to trying to go through the area and find it. You know, there's an elemental right there. But our level's high enough, I believe we might be able to handle... No, never mind. We wouldn't be able to handle it that well. Balthier would have to equip his bow to deal damage, and Bosch would be SOL. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn these gambits off, and I'm gonna change this to HP 50, and then I'll just swap that around with his. I'll just turn that off, and then turn the magic healing one on when I need to. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we actually did find a semi-interesting item of note. It was the arcane spell Death. I wouldn't recommend relying on it too much. A lot of enemies seem to resist instant death abilities, so it wouldn't have too high of a success rate. Or I'm probably wrong about that, and it would probably be a lot more useful. I do know an Esper that specializes in the instant death abilities actually has a pretty high success rate with them. But then that just loops around to the other problem with instant death attacks, and that is that you don't get all the rewards for killing them that way. You don't get experience or license points if you're using the Death Esper. So it's tough to recommend. I think the same, well, I mentioned that the Death Esper specifically, but I think it's the instant death spells and abilities that keep you from getting all the rewards. Yeah, I know we're high enough level to handle the elemental, but with all this elemental related gear, I don't think it's a good idea to try and take it out right now. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is there was also a bow and bodkin set in the bazaar, and that, while the bow itself was uninteresting, it was just a regular longbow. It came with special ammunition, the fiery arrows. I'm not 100% sure what unlocked it, but make sure you pick that one up as soon as you see it. Especially if you're using a red battle mage paired with a archer. Worst case scenario, more ammunition is more ammunition. These enemies look very, very weird. I do not like them. I do remember on my early attempts to get through Final Fantasy XII when it first launched on PlayStation 2, this was about the area I stopped. I couldn't really get much farther beyond here, partly because I kind of suck. But what really halted my progress on that initial playthrough is that I decided, for some stupid reason, I decided to stop buying armor, and I was exclusively using, exclusively picking up new weapons. It was a horrible idea, and those enemies we killed before these avians, these Garuda Eggies, started showing up, those did a lot of damage, and I couldn't get past them. Speaking of these Garuda Eggies, these are basically the exact same as that boss we had to fight before getting to the Tomb of Wraithwall. I think they're a little bit tougher, or they might be the exact same. I'm not 100% sure. But if you go back to the Ogier Yensa, well, actually it was the Nam Yensa, and you can pick some more Elixir berries, or Exir berries, and you can use it on those Garuda Eggies, and it will have the same effect that it did on the boss that was a Garuda before the Tomb of Wraithwall. And also, like the Garuda, those guys are weak to dark, so if you have a red battle mage with you, they can make short work of them. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to my close range gear on Balthier and Vaughn. But if you did use Red Battle Mage with Archer, the Burning Bow is actually also available at this point. It's a bit tougher to get this early on. Actually, you could even get it a lot sooner than this, and by a lot sooner, I mean you could have gotten it before you recruited Balthier and Fran. Let's see, what am I trying to say? But once you get those two weapons, all you really need to do is equip your your red battle mage with the burning bow, the fiery arrows, and have them using almost exclusively fire spells, because almost everything's going to be weak to fire. Well, not everything's going to be weak to fire, but most things are going to be vulnerable to fire, and with that combo, they're going to be doing a lot of damage with fire spells, of which they should be able to use Fyra at this point. Although, if you want to wait till the Burning Bow is available for purchase, it's actually not too far off either. I think you can even get it for a hunt reward for one of the hunts that's currently available. I haven't picked it up yet. It's in an area I always have difficulty with, so I usually wait a little bit longer. Anyway, this is the entrance to the Still Shrine of Miriam, but I'll wait till I get to the save crystal. There are a few items littered about. I think they're mostly accessories. And speaking of accessories, there was a magic vendor at Mount Ber-Omises. He was the Seek. He sold accessories as well as magic and technics. And the accessories he sells, one of them was worth noting. I forget the name of it, but it made you immune to confusion. I would highly recommend picking that up. It would make that AFK grinding I mentioned in the Hene Magicite mines a lot easier to do. Oh, another chest on prominent display. Battle harness. That's a kind of interesting one. A good one to equip to whoever you use decoy on during boss fights. Oh, and another one. Ooh, an ice shield. Alright. Well, now that we're here, I'm going to go ahead and call that an episode. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Spaced Oyster, signing out.